we gaan verder. We zitten al in het tweede uur. Het is 3 minuten over 2 momenteel voor de mensen thuis. En we gaan nu eigenlijk verder met een interview en met een optreden van Brett Perkins. En Brett Perkins die is van oorsprong... Brett, you are originally from the United States?
Los Angeles, yes.
Los Angeles, okay. And as I understand it, you're often here in Holland?
Well, I was quite a bit in the 90s, late 90s, and I'm living in Copenhagen now, so I'm sorry to say it's been 17 years since I've been at home.
Okay.
Other than the airport on the way.
Okay. And what is the exact reason that you're in Holland now?
Well, I've fallen in love with another songwriter who lives in Holland, which is a very good reason to be here. And she's joining me today on one of the songs we played.
Okay. One moment. I had to plug in some cables here, and well, just explain who really Brett Perkins is. When did you really start with making music, Brett?
I came up through the, actually as a garage band performer, sort of in the post-punk movement of the late 70s, early 80s in Los Angeles. I had what was called a new wave band back then, the Sneaks, made a couple albums, got some radio, and since then have been on various projects. Right now I'm playing in a country band in Denmark, as well as doing my own stuff. So I've been at it, I've been writing songs close to 40 years now, and released a bit, or been on releases of upwards of 20 albums.
Okay. And what is the reason that you chose to live in Denmark?
Well, I followed a singer-songwriter home who I fell in love with, so there's a pattern emerging here. I've been in Denmark for, well, full-time. I'm a resident there now, permanent resident, and I have a 6-year-old daughter there, so that's the love of my life, so I'm staying there for a long time. So I have to convince Holland to come towards Denmark. Okay.
Yeah. Well, what I heard from others that the atmosphere for making music and for singer-songwriters is very good in Denmark.
Yeah, in Copenhagen especially, there's been a renaissance the last 10 years, and when I first got there in '97, actually the last 20 years, I got there in '97, there was no scene. And I had just come from Los Angeles, where I was heading a really active scene. I was the head of a national songwriting organization, and so I started asking, well, where's the scene? Oh, there isn't one. Well, let's build one. So all these years later, and of course a lot of people contributing, you can, an original singer-songwriter can come and play 5 nights out of every week in Copenhagen. There are that many scenes, sometimes 2 a night.
Okay.
And it looks like you have a pretty thriving scene here as well, from what I've been able to plug into on rather short notice.
Yes, yes, but maybe not as much as I personally would see, you know.
And there's room for more.
There's always room for more.
Yes.
Yes. And have you been playing at some venues in the past weeks or so since you've been here?
Well, I just arrived 2 days ago. I played Swan yesterday, the Swan event, which was lovely, beautiful room.
Annette Vogel.
Yes, very sweet woman, and lovely volunteers there putting it on, and lovely songwriters, and a great space. It was a listening room, which is, I have...
In the middle of a park.
Yes, a fantastic little oasis,
yes,
you know.
Yes.
And the idea of a listening room is quite important to me, because it's rather rare, as you know, to find a place where people are actually fully listening.
Yes, that's right, yeah. And well, there are more, for instance, the Amsterdam Singer-Songwriter Circle.
That's coming up next visit, and we're doing the Waterhole.
Waterhole,
yes. And then Songwriters Guild Showcase and radio at the end of the month. I'll be back again at the end of this month.
Okay, yeah. These are all people that are familiar with to me, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But well, your type of music, Brett, just explain some about that. What is the style we have to think of when we think of Brett Perkins?
Yeah, I think as originally as an artist, I had a wild record collection as a kid. You know, the first two albums I bought were the Carpenters' Close to You and Black Sabbath Paranoid. So you can see the spectrum. Yes. So I've always been more about the song and the sound. So I think if someone were to put me in a box, for instance, reviewers, they'll say they hear a Beatles pop influence, which is fine. That's good company to be keeping. And yet lately my best project is a country band. And I figured I'd throw one of those songs in today. I'm having a blast. And 20 years ago, if you said I've been playing country, I would punch you in the nose, you know. So.
Okay, but a song, what is a song to you? It's a melody with lyrics. Does it have to be poetic? The lyrics.
No,
what comes first?
Yeah, it depends. For me, melodically, usually it's been melody all along. Although with the country stuff, I'm starting with lyrics because a lot of country is turning phrases, often in an ironic, sometimes clever way. So it's freed me up to write from a lyric first. But I think a song, I mean, it's so subjective, you know. Some of them can be as simple as "Don't worry, be happy," and that song, if you tried to complicate it any more lyrically, it wouldn't work. It's just a happy song. And others are, you know, you get dense poetry like with Joni Mitchell, or I could give you some more current references, but I'm living in the past.
It doesn't matter because you can learn from people from the past.
Absolutely.
Always.
And songs are timeless, you know. I think production's not always timeless, but songs, I think, can be.
Yeah. Okay, it's time to listen to a Brett Perkins song. And Brett, could you at least tell the title?
Yes,
mention
it's
the
called
title?
Someday Love.
Beating strong, it does for you.
dreams can still come true.
Ja, luister, ze waren de mooie klanken, uitstervende klanken van het molentje van Brett Perkins. Brett Perkins is hier live in de studio aanwezig bij Almere, on-air radio bij Omroep Almere. Hier in een mooi gebouw in de buitenwijk van Almere. We zitten op de tweede verdieping. Het is buiten zie ik alweer dat het een beetje mooier weer is geworden dan vanochtend. En ik hoop dat het straks nog veel mooier gaat worden. In ieder geval de muziek hier in de studio, die is wel mooi. I told people at home, Brett, that I look outside and I see the weather is a bit beautiful, more beautiful than this morning when it rained.
And yesterday.
In any case, the music is beautiful here, your music.
Thank you.
It's a lovely song, and
Thank
you
you.
have a lovely voice. Well, you mentioned that you have published maybe more than 20 records?
Yeah, around 20 that I've participated in. Some solos, some bands.
Okay.
I've also sung vocal on like Run Rig, one of their releases, and quite a bit of co-written songs on other people's albums.
Okay.
Had a top 10 in Denmark. That's the best I've done so far commercially.
Okay. And writing songs, is that something what you like to do?
It's what my whole life is based around now. Like a lot of musicians, mine has not been a straight path, especially in the U.S. Learning to survive as an artist it takes creativity. So I've tried other things, but I kept coming back to music. And now I live full time as a songwriter, but also as someone who leads workshops and retreats around the world in songwriting. So I'm headed to Ireland next to do a workshop for IMRO, they're the equivalent of Boom Stimro over there,
Okay.
and to lead a retreat that I do every year. I do annual retreats in several countries.
Okay, so people can actually come there and they can learn from you a way to write songs or
Yeah,
to
different ways. I don't believe in there's one way, and I don't believe in rules. I believe in tools, and that we all have our habits, and we can all expand and keep learning.
But explain that a little bit more. You don't believe in rules, but
Yeah, I'd say tools versus rules, because I think there are enough books and opinions out there that say, oh no, you can't do it this way. And whenever I hear that, I think, well, then I will do it that way. You know, there's the rebel in me that says,
why not?
It's art.
Yeah.
You know, who tells me what I'm going to create? And yet, you can study different song forms and different approaches and expand your toolbox. So, you know, I have a certain key I like to play in and a certain chord progression. When we do country, I say that I suffer from GCD, because those are the three chords I use all the time. But then Willie Nelson said 3 chords in the truth, that's what a country song is. So, so there's just different perspectives. But on the workshops, people are co-writing every day. They're placed with different writers and given different jumping off points for creating.
Okay.
And there's up to 20 writers, and so you're writing with people from very many different countries and cultures and different languages, and it's a very interesting case.
And what is the basis then? That people must have a lyrics first and then start writing a melody, or?
No, it's different each day. We start with the different elements, so we'll start with text or lyrical ideas one day, and with rhythm another day, and with melody another day. And another can be a descriptive, where I'll send them out into the community to view other situations, other people, and write stories about them. And so we work with language and contrast and melody and different rhythms. Yeah.
And for you yourself, do you like songs that have a meaning, that have some sense, you know, as opposed to, for instance, some songs of Bob Dylan that do not make sense, just words that, you know, phrases. And
again, it depends. You know, I use the example when I first heard Björk on the radio in Los Angeles. I had no idea what she was talking about, and yet I felt like I understood the song perfectly, because the energy and just her presence. And all I remember was she kept saying, this wasn't supposed to happen. That's all I can remember. And when Nirvana came out, same thing. I couldn't understand It Smells Like Teen Spirit. Who could, you know, until they printed the lyrics online. But I felt it in the same way I felt the early Black Sabbath or, you know, rock and roll that I grew up on. So I don't think songs have to be chronological, A equals B equals C. Country songs tend to be that way, very clear, specific. You kind of know where it's going. It's like once upon a time and then the end. What happens in between. But some stuff is very eclectic. It really depends on the artist, I think. My own songs, I tend to look for clarity. I want to communicate so that it's not just a monologue, it's a dialogue with the listener.
But isn't music always communication?
Yes, and I think since it's subjective, it's a matter as an artist of finding who understands you. You know, who are you talking to? Who are you speaking to? Yeah.
But that's also subjective, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Because people all have different tastes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I found music as an artist, as a performer, one of the most freeing things that I realized was to give up the need to be liked when I went on stage. To practice that, to play the songs that I felt were satisfying for me, to offer them up, and if one person or 10 people or 100 people said that resonated with me, that was a bonus.
Okay.
You know? So working towards crystallizing or distilling my own ideas, and being serious about that, and yet not being attached to the outcome.
Okay, but that's totally opposed to what is called the mainstream music, is it?
The craft or the sort of pop craft world.
Yeah,
you know,
musicians in that world are constantly trying to create a song that fits into.
Sure, to hit a certain mark. And you know, when I was in Los Angeles, I was looking at different ways to make a living as a writer. And one of those was I was assigned or given the opportunity to write a theme song for a television program.
Okay.
And here you needed to encompass a fixed story. You had 30 seconds, and it needed to have a hook, memorable hook, and get the idea of the TV show across. Most challenging writing I'd ever done.
30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds. And now the TV show it was a pilot and it never went on to become a series. But they liked the song. And what I learned from that is it's easy to talk about old pop music, you know, it's vacuous and empty and it's all craft and machinery. Try writing one of those songs. It's the same work, and in fact, hitting the mark is even more difficult because it's so specific. It's like putting through the eye of the needle. Whereas if you're an artist writing your own stuff, you've got free reign to go wherever you wish. Yeah. So I have more respect for those writers, and I worked with a lot of them in Los Angeles, a lot of the hit writers.
But you yourself, you're not doing that anymore?
No, I mean, I don't even co-write that much, even though I teach it. I'm just sort of enjoying writing my own stuff now, you know, after this many years. So.
Okay. Brett, I'm going to ask you to play another song for us.
Sure.
Could you mention the title and maybe a little bit describe what the song is about?
Sure. This is a ballad that I wrote. It's called Sure Will Miss You When You Go. And it was inspired at a point where I found out that one of my parents had a terminal illness, and I didn't know if I would see them again. And the song came from pure emotion, and it sort of just fell out with a lot of tears. And I thought that was that, and since it's resonated. It's been on YouTube, and I've played it at 3 different services for people, for memorial services, people I don't know. So you never know where a song is going to go. I thought sometimes the very personal...
Well, that's something else, a memorial service.
Yes, and the idea that something so personal can be universal, because of course we're all having the same universal personal experience, life, death, and everything in between. You know.
Okay, Brett Perkins.
Your time is drawing near. them show. So let's not wait another day to say the words we long to say. How we all wish it wasn't so. Sure will miss you when you go. The only thing you need to know. Sure will miss you when you go.
Ja, luisteraars thuis, het waren de mooie klanken van een heel mooi liedje van singer-songwriter Brett Perkins. Van origine komt Brett, zoals hij ze even al vertelde, uit Los Angeles. En hij is, de liefde van zijn leven is hij gevolgd naar Kopenhagen in Denemarken. En daar woont hij al sinds een heel aantal jaartjes. Hij heeft ze even ook verteld dat hij veel heeft geschreven en hij gaat ook binnenkort gaat hij bijvoorbeeld naar Ierland toe, waar hij bijvoorbeeld singer-songwriter, ja, ik kan het geen les noemen, maar in ieder geval mensen gaat begeleiden, een soort van workshop is het. It's a sort of workshop what you're going to do in Ireland, is it?
Yes, it's a retreat, a week-long. I call it a retreat because we go to remote places in nature. We're on the smallest of the Aran Islands, so you really can't get off the island very easily. You can't run away from the process.
You are forced to stay there.
Songwriter's Island. Except no one gets voted off.
Okay, and that's one thing that you do nowadays. And are you still actually performing internationally?
Yes, yeah, yes. Actually, I do tours as well. So it's a combination. When I go out and tour, I will do guest speaking, sometimes in schools. I will do workshops. I will do individual consultations with artists, and then concerts.
Okay.
Yeah, the many small streams making the river of existence, or
right.
subsistence.
Yeah. And compared to what you've been telling that things have changed since when you started in the scene in Los Angeles,
yes, yes.
And now in 2015, what would you describe? What has changed the most?
I would say the advent of the internet. I mean, that occurred certainly in those years. I remember when I first had my email account, and there wasn't about music. And now, I mean, there are both sides arguments about it. The idea of Spotify and these other opportunities. Some see it as an opportunity. If you're a newcomer, you can promote your music. If you're an established artist, you're losing royalties like never before. So the money has gone down. No one's in it for the money except. If you're not making any money, you got to be doing something else as well. So,
okay.
So yeah, there's a balance there. So I find it an interesting time. I really believe in just adapting. Not bemoaning what changed.
But isn't it's the way of making money through music that maybe has changed
quite a bit.
Has changed. Maybe not. You're not making as much money from selling CDs or records, but more from live performances.
It's live performance, and actually the alternative that grew up in the U.S. It's very popular, and I brought the tradition over to Denmark, or at least gave it a kick in the butt. Is the idea of home concerts, people hosting artists in their homes.
Yes.
It's all voluntary, all donation based, and often an artist would come to Los Angeles, for example, to play an important quote-unquote industry showcase and get no money, and then they would come play at my house and walk out the door with over $1,000. So because they were committed fans, they could have a close relationship with. And it's an underground economy to keep the music alive, and frankly I prefer to play those venues in someone's home acoustically than in a club where there's a 2-drink minimum and the audience is being harassed every few minutes to buy a drink. And
I understand that, because I see it myself too, house concerts are very popular, but you can see it throughout the whole world. In the United States it's done. I just read an article, or a message of a very famous luthier, Jason Costel, from the US, who makes beautiful acoustic guitars. But he also does that sort of things. he has a big house where maybe 90 people can fit in his living room.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine 90 people?
Yeah.
But for another example, there's somebody who's called Anthony Snape, and he lives in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
and he's originally from Australia, and he's coming over here to Holland, and he's a guest of me on September the 26th here in the studio. But he's doing the same thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So it is a sort of subcultural thing, or economy, or whatever.
Yeah, or maybe a natural response that people who still wish to have that close contact with an artist that has been perhaps lost in the internet world.
Mm-hmm.
And on the one hand, you can discover people from all over the world. On the other hand, you want to go to a concert, you're going to pay often excessive amounts, and in an environment that's not really the best listening environment. So I think culture finds a way, and artists find a way to get before their audience.
You would call it a good alternative for the established artists?
Absolutely, and what I've been noticing is a lot of quite established artists are out there doing the house concert series because they're also getting a quality of experience that they miss from when they were coming up. They get the intimacy. Yes.
Yeah, the intimacy.
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand that. I'm going to ask you to sing another song, to play and sing another song.
Absolutely.
Could you mention the title?
Yeah, I'm going to play a country song
Okay.
that's from my band, the Pawn Shop Preachers, and we call it Americana music for middle-aged music lovers.
Okay.
And so a lot of it's tongue-in-cheek. This fits that theme. It's called She Loves My Belly and My Bald Spot. She loves my belly and my bald spot. Doesn't care if I talk a lot. Says I'm funny when I know I'm not. Wanna give her everything I got. Underneath the apple tree, she's the only girl for me. Under 40 and she thinks I'm hot. Loves my belly and my bald spot. Not quite the kind of guy to settle down. I long to sail the 7 seas, but something about her turned my head around. Finally found someone to believe. Loves my belly and my bald spot. Doesn't care if I talk a lot. Says I'm funny when I know I'm not. Wanna give her everything I've got. More than just the birds and bees. She's the only one for me. Often tender and forget me not. Loves my belly and my bald spot. I wanna give her everything I've got. Loves my belly and my bald spot. She's under 40 and she thinks I'm hot. Loves my belly and my bald spot.
Ja, dames en heren thuis, dat is Brett Perkins. En Brett, you mentioned that you actually play that with your own band, the
Yes.
Pawn Shop Preachers.
Yes.
What about the name? Explain that.
Well, actually, the original name, I had been carrying it around in my pocket for about 15 years, was the Porn Shop Preachers.
The Pawn Shop Preachers.
And as I thought about it, I have a marketing background, I thought that's going to be a rather limiting name. It's not going to really appeal to family entertainment.
No.
So I changed it to the Pawn Shop Preachers. And I thought it was a pretty good idea because pawn shops have their own sort of history of things being recycled, and preachers have their own history of things being recycled. So,
Such as?
Philosophies about saving the world or the world ending, and
Yes.
I don't espouse to any particular religious belief system, but I grew up with it. So this has also been a way of taking a little swipe at some of the dogma that I grew up with.
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you perform a lot with the band?
Yeah, the Preachers are primarily a festival band. So in the last couple of years, we played in Greenland twice. In the last year, we were on the Arctic Sounds Festival and the Scandinavian Country Music Festival in Sweden, opening for the Mavericks there, and a couple festivals, Copenhagen Songwriters Festival in Denmark, and others. So we're basically, because it's a 5-piece band of, as I said, middle-aged music lovers and players, we need to be doing larger stages to bring out that many instruments. Whereas me as a solo artist, I can pretty much pick up my guitar and go.
Okay, 5 people, that's including yourself?
Yes.
Okay, and that means maybe a bass guitar?
Yeah, a second guitarist, bass guitar, drums, keyboard, and a pedal steel player.
Oh, I like pedal steel.
Yeah.
That's a nice sound. If it's and as far as I understood that you have an album with the CD album with the Pawn Shop Preachers.
Yes, we have a compilation that's out called Secondhand Pieces, and a new one that's on its way, as yet untitled. I was just in the studio before I got here to Amsterdam doing finishing the basic tracks for that new album.
Okay, and you're going to be accompanied now by?
Magali Deschamps, who is a French songwriter living here in Amsterdam.
And she's going to play the violin?
Yes, she is, and sing a bit with me as well, if that works out.
Okay.
And just checking the key. Yeah, good. It's a very, very new song. We debuted it last night at Swan. It was also our debut of playing together, so this is exciting to do here on the radio. And it's a song called I Could Do Lovin' the Way That You Want.
Ja, dames en heren, thuis waren wederom de mooie klanken van Brett Perkins. Brett Perkins is een singer-songwriter uit Los Angeles die nou al jarenlang in Denemarken in de stad Copenhagen woont. I was in Copenhagen a long time ago, but it's maybe 10, 15 years ago.
No.
I think a lot must have been changed since.
Absolutely, and the architecture looks the same, but there's a vibrant music scene. And any songwriters who are listening, which I imagine there are, there is this open scene going on, and every Sunday there is a open scene called the Listening Room, open stage. I started it 10 years ago.
Okay.
I was doing it in Los Angeles, and they can just go to listeningroomconcerts.com and find the Facebook page. And you come in, free entry. We have a house guitar, full sound system, professional stage, house keyboard, and you get to play 2 songs. And have a dedicated listening audience of usually 40, 50 people.
Okay, and is that in the weekend?
Every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, in Copenhagen.
In Copenhagen. Yeah.
And people can see that or get info from
listeningroomconcerts.com.
Oké, listeningroomconcert.com. Zo, voor degenen die thuis ooit in Kopenhagen, de singer-songwriters onder u die in Kopenhagen willen gaan spelen, www.listeningroomconcerts.com. En daar vindt u het adres en de mogelijkheid om op elke zondag een aantal nummers te spelen. Two numbers?
Yes, they sign up at 7:15 and everybody gets to do 2 numbers.
Okay, and it's late in the afternoon.
Yeah, it starts. You start at 8. Well, 7:30 the music begins. You have to sign up at 7:15, and there's a line out the door, so you got to be there at 7:15.
Okay. Well, that's nice to hear. What are your own views concerning making music and the arrangement? That's what one thing I always want to know from people who come here. You know, do you like if you play with a band, just to keep it with a second guitar, pedal steel, bass?
Yeah, it depends. You know, I'm a songwriter first, and so I write in a lot of styles. Like you've heard a country song and a pop song.
But you do that basically on acoustic guitar and
then I bring in and on my own. But when I'm recording, I tend to get rather large in my recordings. I've been told. I mean, on the last album.
In what sense?
Well, I brought in a sitar player, full horn section, string quartet. You know,
nice.
because I was envisioning, because I grew up on these Beatles albums and these lush productions.
They use the same thing.
Yes, and I wanted to have that experience. With the country band, we're keeping it a bit more to the roots sound with the pedal steel and the second guitar. You know, we're going for the vintage.
That's what country is all about.
Yeah, just keep it simple.
They have a violin player sometimes.
Yeah, yes, and now we have one that I can borrow from Amsterdam.
But in the States they call it a fiddle.
A fiddle. Yeah. And they hold it down on. And usually they're holding it down in their arm, crooked in their arm. Yeah, or at least in New Orleans, fiddle players are.
Okay, but they do that in other cultures too.
Yes,
For instance, in Ireland or so.
Yes, and the fiddle came to the U.S. from Ireland, so you know the immigration. Yeah, as did the dulcimer, as did I believe the banjo came out of Scotland, if I'm not mistaken.
So, I haven't got a clue. But
well, you know, it's a land of immigrants.
Nowadays, everybody knows the banjo from West End, country and West End.
Yes, absolutely, and Mumford and Sons and some of these modern bands that are playing, you know, bringing banjo back, making it loved again. I used to know a lot of banjo jokes.
Yes. I see them pass by on Facebook a lot.
Yes,
you know? And about bass players.
Bass players as well, and solos,
Brett, I'm going to ask you to play another song. Is that possible?
Absolutely, yes. Well, you know, with a songwriter, we'll always be willing to play another song. It's more getting us to stop that's the question.
Well, if it are nice songs and it's nice music, you can continue to play, of course.
Yes, thank you.
But tell us the title and a bit about the song.
This song is on YouTube, as is the, most of the stuff I've been playing. So if you look at Brett Perkins under YouTube, you find me. If you look under Brett Perkins Band, you'll find a young Christian artist in the Midwest. I wish him well, but it's
not you.
Yeah, not in topic or in form. So, this song is called "Wasn't It Worth It," and it's written at the end of a relationship because I believe that every relationship has value. Maybe it teaches us we never want to have another relationship like that again, but I still think it was worth it. I don't believe in being revisionist and saying, oh, I didn't really love that person, or oh, you know, it never was going to work out. So this is that question to oneself and also to the person who you're no longer with. Sorry, I've got a capo problem here. You have to pardon me for a second. Pardon me.
Every second, heaven sent. Plans made with purpose, don't say they're nothing, but wasted, worthless, wasn't it? Worth it? Wasn't it worth it? Wasn't it worth it? All of our dreams and plans made with purpose, don't say they're nothing, but bridges still burning, wasn't it? Worth it? Wasn't it? Worth it? Wasn't it? Worth Every moment that we spend, every second, heaven sent. First time you look deep in my eyes.
Ja, dat waren de klanken van Brett Perkins. Brett Perkins is hier live aanwezig in de studio van Almere On Air Radio, zoals we officieel heten. Dit is Omroep Almere en we hebben een live interview met Brett Perkins. Die komt van origine uit Los Angeles en die woont al sinds jaar en dag woont hij in Kopenhagen in Denemarken. En Brett, this is clearly a song with a message and a little story you have to tell.
Well, it was the end of a marriage.
It was the end of your marriage.
And a marriage I was certain it was time to leave. In fact, we both were, so there's no question about that. I was continuing with the love for that person. I mean, I love everyone I've ever loved. Some of us, my good friend Kenya Walker in Nashville says, sometimes you gotta love people right out of your life. So
you gotta love them right out of your life.
yes,
Yeah.
but we have a daughter together, and she is the love of my life. She's the love of both our lives, and so I was saying, of course it was worth it. We have this beautiful child in the world.
Yeah.
So that was where that story was coming from. Wasn't it worth it?
Okay. Well, that's straight from life itself, is
Yep,
it?
absolutely.
And it's recognizable because a lot of people may be in the same position in their lives.
Yeah.
So, is that something what you think of when you write a song? For instance, that you think of situations that happen in human life, and
Generally not. I'm generally still. I started as a writer trying to figure out what I felt. It was very much revelation, and sort of needing to express something and playing the blah blah words on the chords and crying and saying, I don't know, what is this song about? I'm definitely more conscious about communicating with the song, but I write them, first I write them and they're quite a bit longer, and I say what I feel I need to say personally, and then I give it some distance and I come back and I look at the first time I write the song was a first draft now, which has been very freeing for me. I used to feel like I needed to finish it and then I was done.
yes,
Now, I write out all my emotions, I get my self-expression done. That was for me. And now I think if I'm offering this to other people and I want them to pay attention, and they're literally paying me with their attention, then I wish to have them understand what I'm saying too and have it apply to them.
and does that imply that you sometimes have to change something about?
Absolutely, yeah, I go back in. First question I say is, if I didn't know the story already, would I know the story? The difference between personal expression and communication.
Okay.
And that's, to me, is the critical inch of the craft in songwriting. We all know the story we're telling, but does the audience know? And secondly, why would they care? Unless we give them an opportunity to relate to the story.
What about the melody? Do you have to start? Do you have already? If you write lyrics, for instance, in the way that you just mentioned, do you already have a sort of tempo, style?
Melody, yes. Those are coming where the lyric is coming from the melody. So I often find those lyrics are more emotionally connected to the melody. The melody leads the message, if you will. If I have a melancholic melody, it's probably going to be a melancholic lyric. Although then, as a songwriter, I can play with that and say, I have a melancholic lyric, I'll put a really happy, or a melancholic melody, and I'll put a happy lyric over it. Townes Van Zandt was famous for this, happy little ditties about death.
Yes. But it could work.
Yeah. It's just play. At one point, I'm trying to stay childlike, not childish, but childlike, and so I'm playing with the raw elements as well as very seriously pouring my heart out, you know, to both ends.
And what about this notion that something could be just plainly beautiful?
Absolutely. There are times, well, for instance, the song Sure Will Miss You When You Go, which I played earlier, I didn't intend to sit down and write a song. I was just processing a lot of emotion, and it came out, and I felt that it's only 4 chords. It felt simple. I had all the critical thoughts, oh, it's too simple. The lyrics very plain, and it's too personal. And yet it's one of the songs that has had the most traction with the most listeners. So who am I to judge, you know?
Are you actually sometimes or more of the time busy with figuring out what the best way to write a song is?
No, it comes pretty, my flow is pretty good right now. I've written over 50 songs just this year. So I'm in the period of the most prolific time. Now that doesn't mean there are 50 songs that will stand the test of time. But I've been at this, as I said earlier, almost 40 years, so I've got most of the blocks out of the way. You know, I'm pretty much starting a song every day. They don't all get finished, but I think it's like any other practice. If you were going to run a marathon, you need to start training. And the more you train, the more easily you go out and running. And then if you don't run, you miss it. So for me, if I'm not catching songs, then I feel like I'm a little, you know, I need to pay more attention to what's going on around.
Yeah, but on the other hand, there are a lot of there are musicians who just take a time out, you know, for a period. And
I had one of the I had one of those periods late last year where I didn't write anything. I didn't pick up my guitar for a couple months. And I used to panic when those happened. I thought, oh, is it over? Has the flow been turned on? But no, I think of it as a time when the well needs to run a little dry, and then you fill it up with new inspiration, and you come back.
Yeah, okay.
Just trusting that it'll be there.
Brett, could I invite you to play one more song?
Sure. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to do a very happy up-tempo song, which also happens to have happy lyrics. And I co-wrote this with my daughter, who's turning 6 this next week. Okay. Because we were walking down the street on a typical winter day in Denmark, meaning dark, cold, and windy. And the sun came out for a minute.
That's typically Dutch.
Okay, I guess it's typically this region of the world. But I grew up in sunny California, so I mean, this has been a tough transition. I'm not there for the weather. So the sun came out, and I got so happy, and she was happy, and we just started skipping down the street. And she said, Daddy, why are you so happy? And I said, for no particular reason. And that's where this song comes from. I just feel good for no particular reason.
That's a title of the song. Okay.
Let's see. I just feel good for no particular reason. I just feel good for no particular reason. I just feel good for no particular reason. That's the reason I feel good. I just feel good for no particular reason. I just feel good for no particular reason. I just feel good for no particular reason. That's the reason I feel good. Sun is shining, you look fine, and why don't we just run off for the day? Traffic's wailing, let's go sailing. No one's gonna miss us anyway. What do you say? I just feel good for no particular reason. I just feel good for no particular reason. I just feel good for no particular reason. That's the reason I feel good. That's the reason I feel good. That's the reason I feel good.
Ja, dat was een happy up-tempo nummer van Brett Perkins. Brett Perkins, singer-songwriter uit Los Angeles, die woonachtig is in Kopenhagen in Denemarken. En Brett, we're reaching the end of the program, or anyway of this hour of the program, and I wish you a lot of luck in whatever you're going to do.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, and I really appreciate any opportunity to come in like this, and the work that goes into it. So I want to appreciate you as well for the time you put into bringing in songwriters.
Okay, Very welcome, because that's actually what I like about making a program with live music. It means that you can invite a lot of people and hear different types of music and different types of singer-songwriters who all have different styles. And I always try to ask them the same questions about the way that they write songs, about how they do it, and because there are a lot of different styles.
Absolutely, and there's so much talent out there that's under the cultural radar, under the mainstream radar.
Exactly.
And I'm sure you're one of the voices bringing them to the audiences seeking it. So it's important.
That's my intention. Yeah. Okay, Brett, we're going to say goodbye to Brett Perkins. We gaan afscheid nemen van Brett Perkins.